What's the most valuable lesson you've learned from a relationship? I learned that it's important to have your own interests and passions. A relationship shouldn't be your only source of happiness. You shouldn't always have to beg for someone to give you attention. People can say the sweetest things to you, and absolutely mean them, in the moment, but moments are fleeting. People tell you who they are, you just gotta be listening. You can do everything right and still lose. Never get complacent. Show them how much you care every chance you get. An apology is not words but a change in behavior. If there is a red flag, be cautiously optimistic. If there are 34,709 red flags, get the fuck out. I was in love with the thought of being in my first real relationship and ignored everything that I should have paid attention to. To people in Florida, how is the evacuation situation with Hurricane Milton? St. Petersburg resident here. Honestly, the evacuation wasn't horrible. I ended up going to Orlando. Still in the path of the storm, but should be much less intense. The worst part of all of this is the dread. There's such a heavy grief and sadness in St. Petersburg. And it was really hard to leave knowing I might be coming back to a disaster. I might come back and my whole home and all my things are gone. I'm glad I'll be safe and physically sound. But I'm already mourning the city that I love so much. And all the beautiful people that live there. Interstates were bumper to bumper northbound all day Monday and Tuesday. They opened up the shoulders and in some cases turned southbound lanes into extra northbound lanes. I left Tampa for Orlando late Tuesday night and I-4 was pretty clear by then. Gas is hard to find in some isolated areas. But it sounds like there's plenty on the evacuation routes, just long lines at the pumps. Most people are complying with the evacuation orders. It's been slow but orderly. It took my parents 10 hours to get to SC and that's usually a 5-hour drive. It's just a lot of people to move. South Tampa, Florida checking in. I lost most everything including my car from Helena. I stayed in my apartment up until Monday. I'm in Zone A, which means mandatory evacuation. I took all that I had left and what could fit in my car. I had to leave some things behind. My cat and I are at a hotel. Hopefully safe. Not entirely sure what or where my next move is. It's a scary, confusing, exhausting time. I'm not in Florida, but an 82-year-old family friend is. He's right on the coast in Tampa and is refusing to evacuate. I'm pretty worried about it, but it's too late for me to fly down. Rope up the guy and drag him north. My aunt and uncle were planning on riding it out in Venice. In order to support some neighbors who could not leave. That has changed and they are gathering said neighbors and pets and going to our empty seasonal condo a ways inland. They can't get a hold of the property manager to get the key. But my uncle is a retired firefighter and I am confident in his ability to get in. I told him I'll replace the damn door frame if I have to. Mom's pretty close to the path. She's hunkered down with the dog. All the windows are hurricane rated. Newish roof to the latest code. Whole house generator with buried propane tank to power it. She's outside the mandatory evacuation zone and the local shelter is only like 300 yards away as the crow flies anyway. And she's at close to the highest point in the county. Fingers crossed. I'm looking at EarthCam, Naples, Florida, and there are people surfing? Exclamation mark. My dad and stepfamily are near Port Charlotte. They planned to ride it out when it was headed for Tampa. They saw the shift south yesterday. But they still weren't in an evacuation zone, so still decided to wait it out. Late last night they finally got an alert that their zone needs to evacuate. There is no gas anywhere and the only shelters they can make it to are also technically in the same zone they live in. They should have evacuated days ago when me and my brother were asking them to. Now they're totally boarded up and finally bought flotation devices after I begged them to. They're about 15 feet above sea level, so it's cutting it really close if the storm surge will get to them. What does one need to know before getting a cat? If you get a kitten, be ready for the energy and playfulness. Nails included. They bring. Make sure to do all the necessary things. Vaccinations, deworming and defleeing. Be prepared for them to want to climb on everything. Every cat has its own personality. It might not match your expectation. Other than that, enjoy. As babies, they sometimes like violence. Keep the litter box clean. They don't like it dirty. Cats like cleanliness. Have some cardboard boxes around the house and a scratch pole. Some plants are harmful to cats. Others are okay and they can eat them. If you have plants, Google them to see which ones are safe for cats. Remove any plant that is toxic. Not all cats like to be alone. Some will follow you around the house. They like high places to sleep. Every cat is at least a bit of a psychopath. It's a commitment of 12 to 20 years. Make sure you are one. Not allergic to. Financially able to provide food and medical care. I recommend getting pet insurance. It's saved my cat's lives several times. 3. Allowed to have pets where you live. Some important things to know are mostly about cat safety. Plants can be a big risk, especially lilies, but many common houseplants are toxic. Also, drugs like Advil and Tylenol are highly toxic. Cats love to get into things and eat things, so it's important to make your home a safe place for them. First, I grew up with a cat and I have two now that are 15 years old and I've had since they were kittens. They are so dear to me, as much as any family member. And I wouldn't trade them for the world. 1. The rougher you play with them, the more scratchy they will be for the rest of their life. If you don't want scratchy cats, when they are young and you're playing with them, if they start scratching, don't pull back, just close your fist and keep still. They get the message that the game is over. 2. It is much easier to train a cat in behaviors like the above than it is to untrain behaviors that are already there. 3. Always try and keep some cat food in reserve for the day the store runs out of the normal cat food. Millions of cat owners have run out of normal cat food, gone to the store where there is only the expensive food, thought, well, I'm not going to another store. I'll just buy them at this once. These people are now almost exclusively homeless, driven to a life of poverty by their cat's refusal to eat anything but the good stuff. 4. Depending on where you are, there may well be cat rescue shelters. Don't go to the fucking pet store. My country already has a surplus of feral cats, and yours 2. For a lot of shelters, the feral cats they rescue are pregnant. So even if you want a kitten, go there. 5. Relatedly, get your cat neutered when the time comes. The shelter, if it's worth its salt, should make this abundantly clear. Why? 6. Most domestic cats come in 3 flavors: short-haired, medium-haired and long-haired. The longer the hair, the fluffier and cuter the cat. That is, until they do the world's sloppiest shit down their hind legs. And you have to spend the next 2 hours chasing a cat around the house to try and pull diarrhea out of its fur while it smears it on every surface. Tell your friends to get the medium, long-haired cat. You should get the short-haired. Prepare for terrorism and losing your house. Also, cuddles. Check if anyone in your household is allergic to cats. What did you know was a mistake as soon as you decided to do it? And why did you go through with it anyway? I once took a job I knew wasn't right for me. I thought I could make it work, but the stress just wasn't worth it. Sometimes we ignore our gut feelings. Spontaneous purchase, like an expensive gadget or piece of clothing, only to realize afterward that it was unnecessary. At first I thought there are the things would make me happy. Smoking. I was warned, and still started. Finally quit after 18 years. 4 years after quitting got lung cancer, but now 2 years later and I'm clean. Cocaine for obvious reasons. But seriously, turning down a better job opportunity for loyalty. Always take the better offer. This makes me think about the dude who thought he had scat fetish. https www.reddit.com/r/askreddit/comments/3907wr/comment/crzf7j9/ UTM_source equals share and UTM_medium equals web3x and UTM_name equals web3x CSS and UTM_term equals 1 and UTM_content equals share_button. And found out in the coldest, hardest way possible. I started smoking meth at 18. I'm sober for 5 years now but was addicted for 6. I'm happy to be alive. We're sad for being worthless for 6 years. I decided to cut my own bangs. I had no idea what I was doing. But I was feeling impulsive and thought, how hard can it be? Turns out, pretty hard. Agreeing to stay in a toxic relationship, knowing it would only lead to more hurt, but going through with it out of fear of being alone or hoping things might change.